Welcome to the jungle, y'all. Welcome back to Homestead. We're going to go through the garden this morning. We're going to pick bush beans, and I'm going to show you plant by plant what we've got growing. Check it out. All right, let's start out in our DIY raised bed with the old castle block. This has surpassed every expectation I have had. Look at my tomato plants over there. Look at this. Now, these right here are contender bush beans. Contender bush beans. A lot of people ask about bush beans needing support. Bush beans do not need support. When they get really heavy with beans like that one, they'll fall over, but otherwise they just stand up on their own. When you see a bloom, you've got about, I'm going to say, a week and a half until you have beans. You can see the little beans come up on the blooms. Let's see if I can get that in the camera. Right back there. See the little bean? Right there. These will get pollinated and they produce a bumper crop for the amount of space that they're in. That's why I love bush beans. Now you have to bend over and pick these. That's what we're going to do this morning. But they're green beans that can be canned, and it's wonderful, y'all. It's wonderful. If you do not have room for a trellis, this is the way to go if you want a good bit of green beans. I plant both. But these do not need a trellis. They only just need space. And I'm telling you, anybody can grow bush beans. When they're ready, let me step on over in the bed. Let's see. You'll know, okay? Because there'll be these huge, full beans like that. That's what you want. You don't want it bulging with every bean in there unless you are trying to dry these beans. But otherwise, for green snapping beans, you want it just pretty hefty, okay? It will easily come off when you pick it off the plant like that. You can see the blossom in there, okay? That's where the blossom was, and then the little bean formed. Just like that. See the little bean? And that's where a blossom was. Guys, these plants, look at this. Every plant is loaded with beans. We've got tomatoes on this side. I did a video last week on tomato fungal diseases. They still have some of this. Yesterday I went through and pruned. I have not sprayed these with copper again, but I did put copper beside the plants. This one has it on the back side. But the growth up top is great. We have more blooms. We have more tomatoes. So we're doing it right. Just cut the bottom branches off. If you see spots, cut it off. Good airflow. And he is very good airflow at the bottom. But see all the spots? That's fungus. We've got to get rid of it. You have to stay on top of these. Okay? You have to. But bush beans, guys, look at this plant. Look at this. Look at all the beans that are ready. That's what you want. Anybody can grow a bush bean. Anybody. Anybody. Beautiful. I've got tomatoes everywhere, y'all. Now let me turn around. I've got some pepper plants here. This is an Italian pepperoncini pepper. Then I've got a bale, and then it goes all the way down with more pepper plants, but the beans have just taken them over. This right here, jelly bean tomato. We've got little tomatoes everywhere. Everywhere. Again, I've pruned the bottom. Pruned it heavily. And then up top, I mean, it has great airflow. Then I've got this huge bush that keeps blooming. I have fertilized these. Cut those diseased branches off the bottom. Anywhere you can, water and fertilize, and they will do great. I pretty much just have tomato trees. That's pretty much what we've got. But y'all, we are loaded with tomatoes. This right here is a 4th of July tomato, an early variety. He's done great. He's done great. I think he's going to live up to his name. And at this point, this tomato plant has overtaken this whole cage. We're going to have to do something. We're going to have to, y'all. Because he is just, he's a monster. I can't even get it in the camera. This one actually is, I don't even know where the tag is. There it is. An early girl. One of my favorites, early girl. Look at all those tomatoes. You have to stay on top of pulling your tomatoes through the cages, and I mean every day. You have to go through here because now I can't get this branch back in. I tried yesterday. There's no way. Look at all the blooms. I am fertilizing these. I found some old fertilizer sticks inside Job's. I stuck these down beside these when I pruned them so heavily with the blight, and hey, they're doing great. Homestead tomato. This one's out of the cage badly. And I have been out here every day. Look at this pepper. Beautiful. Got tomatoes everywhere. Look at that. Now this one is the one we put the copper penny beside. Not a sign of blight yet. Sunflowers. I had one volunteer sunflower in the middle. I just left him. But these bush beans, y'all. This is a 20-foot bed. I did 3 rows. I planted the very last row later on, kind of to have a succession harvest. And it's doing great. So let's walk on over to the other bed, if I can get through here. Tomatoes everywhere. Okay. Got some pepper plants here. Now, at the bottom of the bed, I had cucumbers. They really didn't do that well. So I went back and planted rattlesnake pole beans. They're climbing. They're doing great. The cucumbers have taken off. I've got squash and zucchini everywhere. And everywhere I planted a zucchini, it ended up being squash. So I think the seed got mixed up. But look at that. Look at that. I think we got one ready over here. My chickens have been flying into this garden, and that's no good. And they've been eating at my squash. He's just about ready. You want these young and tender. And it goes all the way up. All the way up. These bush beans, y'all, they have just taken over the bed. Got peppers everywhere. See all the beans ready. This is what these rattlesnake pole beans over in here, that's what they'll look like. It's the same bean, essentially. It's a green bean. Your rattlesnake will have like a little purple coloring, but the rattlesnake climbs. Any kind of pole bean needs to climb. The bush stays compact. Again, if you do not have space for a trellis or any way to trellis your plants, want to grow green beans, grow bush. Got a whole row of peppers here that look excellent. Got some okra. I've had trouble with my okra this year. It's not wanting to do that well, but it's still hanging on. We planted Clemson spineless. Okay, over here we have Christmas pole lima beans mixed in with squash and zucchini. And I have squash ready everywhere right there. The plant is actually trying to grow up the cattle panel. I'm going to leave it be. I'm going to come back out here today and stake some of this to the cattle panel. And with my cattle panel tomatoes down here. Look at the okra. Beautiful. Beautiful. These cattle panel tomatoes, I have not noticed any blight. I figured I would on these because they're so close together. But actually, I have not. Knock on wood. The only problem with these things, guys, you have to come out here just about every day and stake these up. I mean, look at this. Now I've got to tie him to the panel. You do want good airflow, but I mean, they've just taken over. They have literally taken over the whole panel. Look at that. Let's see if I can turn around. This started day before yesterday, growing on the ground. I've got to get him up and tie him up, but look at this. There are tomatoes everywhere, y'all. Everywhere. It's just huge. You can see my little sock ties. It's just beautiful, beautiful. And that's on both sides. But it works. If you got a cattle panel, grow you some tomatoes on it. I mean, look at this. Honestly, it's so much, but I did not prune it. I did not prune it. That's just the side branches hanging off like that right there. It's very compact. It's probably the way I planted it. Again, I can't complain because I don't see any disease, but it's kind of a tangled mess. That's the only, unless you go through here and prune every little thing. But since it's not had disease, I just let it go. But I'm going to come back out here today and we're going to try to tie all of that up on the cattle panel. But we're pushing one there that's almost 5 foot. And that is my beefsteak right there. Huge. More peppers. We've got 30 foot of peppers right there. Look at this. I would highly encourage anybody, look at all these beans. That's what we're fixing to pick. I would highly encourage anybody to have a raised bed in their backyard, if at all possible, that you can water. Our corn has not had water for 14 days. It's shriveling bad. We're supposed to get rain this weekend, but you need water. So I would, again, this is my backup plan. And I'm so glad that I have this because of the amount of food that I can grow in this space. I would highly encourage anybody to try a raised bed in their backyard. Got more squash. Now we start these tomatoes. This is our red cherry from Jiffy. Another jelly bean tomato. Little tomatoes everywhere. Blooms. And again, if I can step back and get this in the camera. See the bottom? It's just clear. There's a few little weeds I need to pick, but it's clear. But look at the top. I'm pruning these at the bottom, any place I see blight. And I am fertilizing these to the hilt so they will outgrow the blight. And it's working. It's working. Now I did put the copper pipe beside each plant. This one was really riddled with fungus last week, and now he's overcame it. So that's good. That's very good. Look at these. Y'all, I don't think I've ever grown tomato plants this well. There's one. You can see a little blight on the bottom. Those little spots. I worked on him yesterday. Pruning, but look at the top. We've got blooms everywhere. We've got light green growth. You can tell that light green down in there. That means he's growing. It's okay. We've overcame this. We've got squash, zucchini. This one I really had to work on yesterday. So the copper, to me, from what I've seen, is not going to stop the blight. Well, it's not going to cure it, but it seems to hinder it. And at least it's not overtaking the plant. Look how bare I've got him at the bottom. And then the top is just this huge monster. But I keep fertilizing these, and they keep going. So that's the cure for this blight stuff. There is no cure, but that's how you overcome it. That's how you overcome it, y'all. See if I can get an angle from this side. I mean, look at him. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Got more squash. I have not pruned my squash and zucchini this year, but I believe that I'm going to today. It's just getting to be such a jungle through here. We're going to have to do something. I know it's hard to tell on the camera, but there still is good airflow in here. And also on these tomatoes, I didn't prune the suckers, and everything that's had the blight is the oldest branches, not the new suckers. So before you prune these suckers, I would wait and see if my tomato plant was going to pick up disease first, because everything I've left on here has been the suckers. And I've got tomatoes off of suckers everywhere. Little tomato there. And we've got so much here, y'all. And then to my right, it's just, whew. got a lot. I'm so proud of this though. So proud. But bush beans, you do not need a trellis. That's how they grow, just on the ground. You just got to get out here and pick them. So that's what we're going to do this morning. We're going to pick these beans and we're going to start canning. We're going to can later on, y'all. Look at my little tomatoes. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time on Harmon Homestead.